Welcome to The View from the East, a new unofficial Leyton Orient podcast. This is episode 4, Orient Uprising, 13 from 15. My name is Rob Bennett, and once again I'm joined by the man they already calling the Glen Roder to my Stuart Hicks, the older, wiser one, Eddie B. Eddie, how are we doing?
Evening all, hi. Yeah, I'm doing really well, Rob. 13 points out of 15, who's going to complain about that?
Just to clarify, I think they're calling you Glen Roder because you're seen as smooth and silky. I think I'm described as Stuart Hicks because I've got a face like a cobbler's thumb. So
I'll take that.
Just to clarify that. So welcome everyone again. This is episode 4, as I said. On the menu today, we have Exeter reaction, ticket prices, player focus on Charlie Wellens, fan forum questions, and we'll do a little bit on Wigan Away coming up on Thursday of this week. Eddie, let's start with Exeter. We might not talk about this for too long. It wasn't the greatest game of football I've ever seen.
Well, look, to be fair, Rob, we were going in this from 4-4, wasn't we? If we'd gone back a month ago, we probably would have taken a point here. Let's be fair, it wasn't the greatest game of football we've ever seen in our lives. Look, Exeter needs as many points as they can. I said to you before, Rob, Exeter were in our position probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. They're looking for 3 points, a point. We've got those 3 points. Now we're looking for 1 point. We just need to get that magical 51 points. And look, we did on Saturday. It wasn't the most exciting game. It's not going to draw in the crowds, but a point's a point, yeah? We're nearly there.
I must admit, once again, I watched it from home. I'd done my little gardening jobs for her indoors, so I was free to watch football for 90 minutes. As soon as I put the TV on, the weather didn't look great, looked windy, blah-de-blah-de-blah. And I thought, this isn't going to be a great game of football today. You know, like when conditions take over a bit. Obviously, it panned out like that. A couple of changes. Claire was in for James, wasn't he? James is not 100% at the moment. So Claire's come back into the team. We did mention that last week, didn't we? How does someone get back in? Fortunately for Claire, it means that it's someone dropping out for injury that's giving him his chance again. He didn't last too long, no, about 15 minutes. It looks like he's done his shoulder.
It looks like he took a sort of knock on his shoulder. I think Claire, that's what we originally brought him for, 18 months ago, was to be a right back.
Yeah, he never really fills me with confidence when he's playing right back, I must admit. I think he found his little niche, didn't he, in the central midfield role last year, about halfway through, didn't he? And then...
Yeah.
That would be, if everyone was going to say, where do you want to play him this week? I'd probably play him in that midfield if we needed someone rather than at right back. So I remember back to the Cardiff away game as well, where he was pulled all over the shop. Unfortunately for him, as I said, he's not lasted much more than the quarter hour mark. But then that gives an opportunity to Michael Craig, who again hasn't been anywhere near the team, has he? Recently, I think we mentioned him as well last week about how they get back in. He's given his opportunity at least for a short while during the first half. But the first half, really, they had a chance, didn't they? Got Jamie Wareham, is it, headed against the post about on the half hour just after. It was a bit back and forth, a bit scrappy, wasn't it? Ballard, yeah. People say Ballard missed a sitter, but that is harder. When you look back on the highlights, that is a hard chance near the end of the first half where he's just put it wide and over.
Yeah, it was a fantastic pass actually by Craig. It was about 30, 40 yards and it bounced just in front of the defender. Ballard's obviously got those skills. He's sort of like pushed in front of that last centre back. They think he's going to lob the goalkeeper. And he tries to do it more flatter the right side of his the right foot. But it missed. But that was the game all wrapped up, I think, in one. A few chances here and there and everywhere. I'll be honest, Rob, when I was at the end, beginning of the end of the first half, I was checking on my Easter eggs, what ones I need to order. It was that sort of game. It wasn't enthralling me. It wasn't. Both teams looked as if they was happy with 1 point.
I'm glad to hear that you're taking your podcast journalism so seriously. Yeah, talking about Ballard and that miss. Shows you the reputation he's getting. People just expect him to put that away because of the amount of goals he scored this season.
I think as soon as he gets that one pace in front, that you look at, you presume that he's just going to put the ball away. But unfortunately, it may have come just half an inch just out of the way, and it just looks as if he spooned it a little bit and missed it. But 9 times out of 10, you would have presumed that he would have put that ball away.
Yeah, as you said, first half maybe not the greatest watch of football so far this season. Second half going into there, a couple of changes early on. Michael Craig, he's lasted half an hour. According to Richie, he's gone off with a hamstring. He might have done it when he's done that through ball near the end of the first half. Who Happy's come on for him, and I think they've gone through at the back, haven't they, and pushed Morris and Archibald forward on the flanks. And the Elmis has come on. So he's coming on for 45 minutes. That's his longest period back on the pitch, isn't it? Which must be a good sign. They are building up, aren't they, to obviously getting a start maybe in the next week or two.
Yeah, I would presume, say the Wigan game, we may even possibly see him start the game. Perhaps he's agreed, like, this is my new role. I'm going to come on like with 45 minutes to go. But yeah, he does a job, doesn't it? You know, Happy's going to get the ball. He's going to pump it with his left foot, and he's going to go to the right wing. We've seen it for 2 or 3 years now. But
we're just waiting for it to actually come off.
But Elmis gets the ball. He just calms things down. And I think, when he's 100% fit, as Richie said, and he said it a few times now, perhaps he is one of the best midfield players in this league. We don't realise that we've actually got him because the season's been sort of up and down, and we can get everyone fighting fit. We've got our best 11 out there. I think we'll probably see the best of him.
Yeah, he's certainly, I think where he's getting the minutes, he is getting more fluid, isn't he, in his movement. And he, like a moth to the flame, he draws people to him. And that just creates space for others. So, he's looking good. It will be good if he can get a start and maybe 90 minutes before the end of the season. Obviously, that'll be good for him. But then that's a nice fillet, isn't it, going into the end of season, into pre-season. Pretty much, touch wood, that he's going to be fully fit come August. Second half, Ed, there was more chances, I think. Both goalkeepers pulled off saves. I said to you earlier, it was one of those games where I think the goalkeepers done what they're paid for, save shots.
Yeah.
It did get a bit end-to-end, but yeah, both goalkeepers probably could have got in Man of the Match award or Team of the Week for League One, based on what I saw. I'll get his name right. I told you, I keep calling him Les Dennis. But Will Dennis, yeah, he's made such a difference. He's made such a difference. So,
yeah, and I think we took this down a little bit. I think just having that 2 clean sheets now, I know it doesn't seem a lot, but for our season, it's fantastic. It's just having that talker, that shouter at the back. It's probably telling the defenders what to do, where we haven't probably had that for the first 3 quarters of the season. I think it makes such a hell of a difference. It's going to be a big decision for these guys in the summer. If we really want to take it seriously, we need a proper goalkeeper. He looks like a proper goalkeeper. He's 24, 25 now. So he hasn't got that much, as many league appearances as you would expect for a player of that age, but obviously commands that. You get the impression that he commands that back four. Should we just try and get him?
I think it all boils down to wages, doesn't it? When you look for someone dropping, even though a reserve goalkeeper or a third choice for a Premiership club, I try to think what wages are on. And that's what it boils down to at all levels now, is what you can afford to pay out. But, he looks like a keeper, doesn't he? He's like big. He's got a wingspan on him, and he's a good shot stopper as well, which is good to see and something we haven't seen much of earlier in the season. We'll mention the Backinson offside. He was offside for the goal, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think it was. Watching at home, it looked, fantastic. But yeah, when you look back at it slowly, he was offside, and it probably was a good call for the linesman.
I think by the end of it, I was glad when the whistle blew, 0-0, take a point. I was, not cocky, but you think, we've won 4 on the trot. These are playing rubbish, so we should win. But then, as we alluded to earlier, they're fighting for their lives, aren't they, at the bottom of the table. They're trying to get on a run like what we've created. Take the point. It's one more that we've got. We've taken 4 points off them this season, which is a positive for us. I loved Richie's interview afterwards because it meant I could tick something off my bingo card. What do you reckon? I've ticked off my bingo card from Richie's interview.
What do you mention?
It turned into a basketball game, didn't it? So
obviously,
he does love to mention the old basketball, does Richie. But I do love it when those little gems come out in his interviews. It puts a smile on my face.
But his profile has again risen probably over the last month or two or so. It probably gone down after last season's, like, how we did really well. And I think there'll be other clubs out there. I'm sure there will be. I would be if I was a championship chairman. It's taking a whole new team again. We
Yeah.
haven't started great, but we're pushing up again.
I mean, I hate to talk about speculation like this and what could happen in the future, but there's a team on the horizon who could be dropping down that I would worry about if they come into our league, and that's Leicester. Obviously, he's got history of Leicester, hasn't he, as a player? I think he went there as £1 million player as well.
Yeah,
I would just really worry about that situation if they haven't. I think is it Gary Rowlett there at the moment at Leicester?
it is. Yeah,
So he's done a banging job of putting Oxford almost down, Gary Rowlett, and now he's trying his best with Leicester as well. But yeah, I wouldn't deny him because that would be a great opportunity. But you'd worry if they ever come sort of sniffing around. But anyway, that's just what could happen. Obviously, we don't want it to happen. Ed, we'll take a point. We'll move on. We've probably spoken about more from that game than it deserved, I think. Ed, let's move on to ticket prices. Certainly the new season ticket prices come out, didn't they, midweek, I think. What have you picked out of those bones?
yeah. I suppose I'm going to talk about from where we sit in the East Stands. The season ticket prices next year are, I think, if we're getting there for early birds, I think that's what they call it. We're going to be £452, which is about a 6% increase. Now, I suppose what we have to think about, the season tickets didn't go up last year, and we could have potentially been in the championship last year. So, things go up every year, don't they? Let's be honest. So, to me, that sounds a reasonable increase. I suppose what I'm looking at, what shocked me more, because I'm happy with me and Rob, we're going to renew our season tickets next year. I'm looking at the gallery. These guys are sitting opposite me. These guys are nearly paying like sort of £900 to have the same sort of view as we are. Now, I know they've got a padded seat. I know they've probably got a a better bar than we have, but we do have the E10 tap under the East stand, and I could bring a cushion if I want to. But if the game's bad, I'm going to be at Leighton Underground station before you because I'm a lot closer than you. You're paying £500 more a year than me, but yeah, it just seemed it's such a to me, Rob. It just seems such a 300 or 400 quid just to watch exactly the same game we're watching for a nice toilet and a nice
Well,
bar. I mean, I'm happy where I am. Are you?
who I am, Ed, but I suppose if I could, maybe I would try the gallery in future. But it's not worth it now, is it? Until we go into the new stadium, whenever that is, then we can sit wherever we want, I suppose. Yes, they are missing out on the E10 tap bar, which is close to being my favourite bar this year. Obviously, I'm sure they haven't got the option of having a Kit Kat or mini cheddars with their pint up in the gallery. Obviously, we have that where we are. If you can get served at the E10 tap during half time, which is almost impossible because of the crowds. We'll do a bit more on ticket prices maybe before the end of the season. So we wanted just to check, didn't we, on what the actual match day price for a ticket is rather than a season ticket holder. So we're going to look at that a bit more, and then we'll talk about that near the end of the season. Because I'm always interested in that. If you're a family, you're trying to take 2 kids along on the odd day, how much that's going to cost and how easy it is to get done. It's not like the good old days where Dad used to just rock up with us and we used to pay at the gate. It's more difficult, and you've got to plan ahead now, haven't you, if you're a family, I think. But
Yeah.
come to that.
This is my big thing. The way we got introduced to Leighton Orient, it was my dad used to go because he'd had to put Leighton Orient, and he could take me, and he could take you, and we could all walk in. But it's not as easy as that now, is it? You've got to book the tickets up a week in advance, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's not, and they're expensive. And for the quality of football, they are expensive. So yeah,
I mean, it's not a cheap day out. As I said, in future, I suppose they'll do ticket offers in the new stadium, but that's in the future. Ed, let's do player focus this week. We're going to talk about Charlie Wellens.
yeah.
Maybe
What are you going to talk about?
everyone's cup of tea. Maybe he's not the superstar in the team at the moment, but it's worth having a look at. First thing to mention, during a great month of March, he's played every minute. of the 5 games, which not many have. I think maybe Les Dennis in goal and maybe Simpson, I think. But not many have done the full 90 for the 5. And he seems, what he's done is taken his opportunity and he's kept his place, which must be a good thing for his confidence, I guess.
Yeah. I think he's a player who probably goes under the radar a little bit because he's Richie Wellens, and everyone thinks he's obviously started his career at Manchester United, as we all know. He went on loan to Oldham during January 2023, played 6 games, scored 1 goal. His contract was up in the summer of 2023 to Reading. I actually thought we were going to get hold of him in 2023. He decided to go to Reading. He joined there. I believe he signed an initial 1-year contract in the under 21 side. Played a couple of games in their EFL trophy tournament season. But never actually played for the actual first team. His contract ran out this year. He's come to us on loan. Obviously, Rishi's seen
I don't think
something.
he's even on loan. He was just on non-contract. But he was like training.
Yeah. Probably not. Yeah, just looking for a contract, probably. And we know he scored that free kick against Peterborough. It was a fantastic goal, and he scored against Port Vale. And now he's got a contract. But then, looking at his history of the games he's played prior to that, it's quite good to know. Manchester United, if we're talking proper games, he's played no games for Man United. He's played 6 games for Oldham, Oldham Athletic. He's played no league games, no proper games for Reading. He's played 29 games for Leyton Orient this season.
Yeah.
And he's scored 2 goals.
Yeah. It's worth noting though, Ed, as well, those Oldham games, that's in the National League. So he's one of those where he's taken his chance. I think initially, didn't they give him a contract up until Christmas? Obviously, then he's taken his chance in a midfield where, especially those loan players we brought in were really, I hate to say really poor, but they just didn't do anything for us, did they really? And I know it must be difficult, mustn't it? Richie doesn't like talking about it or getting involved with it, but when your dad is the manager, then some fans sort of do look at that as a negative and think potentially he's being favoured. I'm not saying in this case, but in other cases it has happened where the dad's managed his son. Well, I suppose Sam Ling comes to mind. But
you can never say
it's like, what you got to do if someone comes to you and say we've got a midfield player we could bring in exactly the same profile as Charlie Wellens, maybe hasn't played any league games, this, that and the other. What are you going to do if you're Richie in the management team? You're either going to take the person you've maybe never heard of, but the scout's giving you details on him, or you've got someone you've literally known all his life. You know his good and bad points, what he needs to develop, what he's already good at. You're going to take your son, aren't you? I would.
I think let's take you back 2 years. You've got Ethan Galbraith. He came through the Man United youth team, under 21. He's gone alone a couple of times. No one's really had the nous to sort of take him on. Leyton Orient have taken him on, and we know what's happened to Ethan's career. Near on a World Cup player, it could have been if the results gone the correct way. Now he's come through the same routine. He's gone alone once to Oldham. Yeah, hasn't quite clicked at Reading, but even to get into the Man United youth team, you get to be a good player. Yeah. So and you just build up, get the games behind you, and then look, he's got a pass behind him. Yeah, we've seen a lot of goals laid onto Ballard this season. We just had that deft sort of one ball touch through to Ballard, and we've got him for free. He hasn't cost us anything, does he?
I mean, he's definitely not the finished article by no means. By talking about him this week, we're not saying that at all. What he is a work in progress. The player I would compare him to in terms of development, not in the style of play at all, is Jordan Brown. So when we got Jordan from Derby, when they was under their financial constraints and they had to get rid of players, he hadn't played that many games for them. Maybe the EFL trophy and maybe some League Cup appearances, but he was sort of very raw, wasn't he? But he developed not straight away, but over time into a very consistent player. And the reason sort of Blackpool bought him for close to £500,000 isn't necessarily all to do with him wanting to move back closer to home, but he was a consistent player. When he was playing well, you guaranteed sort of a 7 out of 10 every week. Now with Charlie, you've got to think at the moment he's played less than 30 games. Let's have a look what he's like after 60 games, after 90 games, after 120 games, if that opportunity arises for him. But I guarantee he'll be potentially a lot better player consistently week in, week out, given a chance than what we're seeing at the moment. And he's already developing it into a good player in terms of being able to do the full 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And sort of he's also done the hard yards when we've not been playing that well at all, and has had to spend some time out of the squad. As I said, let's see. Hope he keeps his place and form going up until the end of the season. Be interesting to see what his numbers are like this time next year, when potentially then he's done close to 70 games, if that opportunity arises. Obviously, there's going to be some battle for places, isn't there? It's where at the moment he's playing that number 10. When Connolly comes back in, I presume he goes there. So it's then whether he can drop back in, maybe a bit further back into the midfield.
But it's interesting, if you take Rich out of the equation, imagine Richie wasn't his dad, you've got someone for nothing that potentially, if you get him on a 2-3 year contract, which I think we probably will, you could be looking at £500,000, £1 million easily. So, obviously, he's obviously a good player. He's played nearly 30 games this year. These are the types of players we need. We know we're never going to keep these players forever and ever. But if we could nick £1 million, £2 million, £5 million potentially on some of the players, this is the way we get forward quicker than what we've ever done before.
Surely we'd take $500,000, wouldn't you, if he develops? I'm not sure $5 million's on the cards right now.
Not for him, but but if you got him for nothing and you could sell him for £1 million, you would take it, yeah.
One thing that's also coming up and on the horizon,
What's that?
doing a new fan forum, which is due to take
Yeah,
place on the 13th of April. I think it's going to be Nigel Travis, Mark Devlin, and Steve Tate answering the questions this time round. It's due to be shown live on their YouTube channel on that date. A chance for fans to send over some questions. What would you be asking right now?
Me? What questions would I be asking? Well, sort of like, I've listened to a few of these now, and I've logged in and I've sent numerous questions, as you know, Rob. None have ever been asked. That may not have been the questions they sort of want to ask. But if I take the last couple as an example, I think they're very good. Let's be honest, that the club do this is fantastic, and they are so open as much as they can be, as they want to be, and it's great that they get the fans to log into YouTube. We can watch these live. It's great. I think the way it's going to go is like this, and if you disagree, you can tell me. I think they probably get asked 200 questions, I imagine. What I'm saying is that if you get 200 people ask questions, the people who actually will ask questions will be connected to the supporters club, the football club, indirectly or indirectly. So I've got a few questions, but can I ask those questions, Rob?
I don't know. I mean, it's worth mentioning I was on the last one on the fan forum. They answered all my questions that I sent over. But yeah, you are right. You do get what should we call faces that are known on those sort of forums, or at least get their questions put to them. I'd imagine. I wonder if they'll deflect any questions on Martin Ling. People who ask questions, they're normally quite open with it. I presume they'll answer those questions. There'll be the usual, wouldn't there, about the scouting, recruitment, maybe ticket pricing. I suppose that's going to come up. But yeah, it's really, there's a couple of things they could do. I think they've got, when they do these forums, they've got to try and get the younger fans' opinion. So maybe people are younger than, I don't know, 25 and younger, because that is the future, isn't it, going into the new stadium? Because they'll be bringing their families along in the next 10, 20 years themselves. So they've got to get their opinion on board. I know guys like us, we're sort of in our early 50s, and we've seen quite a lot down there, but they do have to look at the younger generation as well. But yeah, there's stuff I would like to ask. I mean, personally, for my fan experience, I'd ask the question, can we either jazz up Tier 1 a taxi, or can we get rid of it and just try something new?
I think that's been something I've probably been holding back on many, and And to be fair, Rob, that's probably how we sort of started this podcast off before. We've been having discussions about going to the game beforehand and what sort of things we'd like to change. Still on a taxi, right? I think was 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 probably released in 1965. I'm guessing it probably released. The people who go to the ground, it doesn't mean anything to them. People just listening to it and clapping. But I think we need to. I think we need to reduce. We need to intimidate the away team, definitely, and demonstrate the away support. We need to start thinking of bringing something new into the crowd, especially if we're thinking of moving into like a new stadium with like potentially 30,000 people. We're not going to intimidate the crowd by paying tier one a taxi.
It just needs changing a bit. If you look at Everton, for instance, and they've done this at their old ground and their new ground, so they've got they come out to Z cars, don't they? Which probably isn't the most intimidating tune in the world. But what they have done now, before that even starts, they get an old air raid siren going. They send out the blue smoke, get the crowd ramped up, and all of a sudden then they go into Z cars. So, a bit of new, a bit of tradition. Even if we could look at doing something like that. So initially, sort of the music could be quite intimidating. They've got the DJ who does a great job, and you can hear that all the way around the ground. He's got his sound equipment out, and it's sort of just do something. I mean, if you're looking at imagine the amount of musical talent that must be living in and around the Leighton area, sort of from all sorts of diverse music backgrounds, whatever, just get them involved or do something. I even hear a rumour that Paul Hardcastle sits in the South Stand. Surely he's got another 19 in him that he could sort of do for Leighton Orient or something. But that would be one of my questions. And they won't answer it, or they say, "Oh, we've got to keep tradition." But sometimes throw tradition out the window. Let's get it pumped up.
Yeah, but
basically.
I think tradition is great. We're talking 50 years ago. We've done that. We could potentially move into a 30,000 stadium. So if we could have that 2 or 3 years of getting rid of Tier 1 the Saturday, moving up to something like, it could be like a thunderstruck by AC/DC. Just when I say thunder, we say Orient. It just to get the crowd stamping or pumping their feet. You need to make that the opposing team intimidated that they walk into your stadium. If you're playing Tier 1 a taxi, I'm not intimidated.
Yeah, I mean, I love being a community club, but sometimes we're a bit too nice, aren't we?
Definitely.
That's my opinion anyway. I would definitely ask fans, here's your opportunity. Send in some questions. We'll send in the one about Tier 1 a taxi, so we'll take that on our shoulders. I don't think they'll answer it. Yeah, as I said, I sent about 3 or 4 questions last time. They asked me to go onto the YouTube sort of live recording, which was great. So, if the opportunity is there and you wish to do it, I'd highly recommend it. Get your questions in as soon as possible. The fan forum event actually takes place on the 13th of April. So that's one for the diary. Just conscious of time at the moment. Let's go into Wigan on Thursday. They brought the game slightly forward, so it's a 7:45 kickoff away to Wigan. It is live on Sky, so it's on channel 404. I checked before I come on. Ed, what are your thoughts going into the Wigan game on Thursday?
They're a really funny team, Wigan, aren't they? They should have a better team than what they are. Getting, reasonably, they get better crowds than what we do, as we know. But they've had a lot of managerial changes over the last 2 or 3 years. Obviously, got Gary Caldwell back now. But when you look at his last 3 or 4 games, win, lose, win, lose. Why are they doing so bad? A lot of their players, like the League One Championship players, they should be the higher end of there, but they just can't get the right manager, can they? I think a draw would be a good result. Actually, looking at that, they probably need a result better than what we do. And if we can play defensively as we did on Saturday, I would take a point. What are your views?
I think as I said earlier, I think the Exeter game was a bit of a reality check, really, because you realised that, same as we were, all these teams are looking for a win, aren't they? Or a run of games, 2 or 3, maybe wins on the bounce, just to get them going and get them free of that bottom 4 positions. I would take a draw, I think. But we've actually got quite a good record against them. Under Wellens, we've only lost once, which was away, and that was like a 1-0 loss. I think Galbraith got sent off that day, if memory serves me right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there you go. What I've realised as well from that Exeter game, Exeter were quite up for that, weren't they? And they weren't holding back. They was trying to come out and sort of play against us. I think Wigan might do the same. Home advantage. We don't draw many, but I'll certainly take that point on Thursday. That puts us then on 50.
I think if it gets 51, I think we'll be okay. I think if you look at their goal scoring, Joseph Taylor scored 13. Then when you go down to the second highest goal scorer, they've only got 5. Like Fraser Murphy, Callum White may have scored 4. So you're looking at one player. If you can nullify that one player, we should be okay.
Taylor's a geezer from Huddersfield, isn't he? He can't get in their team and they put him out on loan. I'm sure it's Huddersfield.
Yeah. I think you're right, yeah.
But again, you give someone games and give him the opportunity, then he's taking that. I presume on Thursday, they'll probably go with roughly the same 11 Orient. Let's hope for a win, but I'll take a draw. We've also got the bank holiday Monday game, haven't we, Huddersfield? They're well above us. They're on 57. Well, I say well above us. They're about 3 wins ahead of us at the moment.
Yeah.
They can still make the playoffs, but that is at home. Our home form is a lot better at the moment, isn't it? So I've not even really looked too much at the Huddersfield game, but yeah, if we, out of those 2 games, if we come away with 4 points, then that's a good Easter bank holiday, I would say.
Yeah, and then I think the boys will have flip-flops on. They will do, because if you know you're going to be safe, you're not going to go down, you're not going to go up. And then we can just rejiggle the amount of players that we need to in the summer. But it's not going to be as much as the previous 2 or 3 years, which is really good news.
Okay, that's great. What we'll do, we'll look to wrap up now. Just a couple of thank yous. Thank you for the messages we've received on both the forums and on X that I've received directly. We do appreciate the support. As we always say, we are a work in progress. This is, again, our pre-seasons. We're getting ready for August. Thank you to Andy, who sits in the East Stand. He's emailed me directly. Apparently, he's been in the East Stand, Ed, since 1969, so he's got a bit of experience even on top of us. He says we are slick and informative.
Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he knows a couple of players when he sees it. He's been down there so long. So, yeah, thank you very much, Andy. At some point, we'll have to meet for a tea or a coffee, or even go to the old E10 tap. Just on the socials, just to confirm, if you want to email me directly, the email address is theviewfromtheeast@outlook.com. And on X, we can be found at View from East. So at X, we are found at View from East. Ed, anything to add before we go?
No. Everyone have a fantastic Easter. Hopefully we're going to talk about this in about a week's time for another 6 points, and we're all happy. Ready for next year.
Yeah, 4 points. I'll take 4 points. Come on, the O's.